G'day and welcome to the second episode of Tech Adept Crafts. Today we're going to do a simple paint job of a 3D printed figure. This little guy is for my D&D campaign, and it's just a simple bad guy. A couple of them right here that we are going to do a simple tutorial on how to paint our 3D figures, our 3D printed figures. Nice, quick and simple, nothing fancy, not going on a huge amount of highlighting. This is just to get a bad guy on the table. Alright, sit back and enjoy the tutorial. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, and if you have any comments, please put them after the video. Give me some suggestions as to other tutorials that you would like to see in the future. Cheers! So here we are printing out my Hero Quest Dark Elf, which was designed by Tezca. Found this on Thingiverse, and we're printing this on my Ender 3, one of my favorite machines to print things on. Quality is really good. You can see a few little stringy bits there, but that's okay, we clean those off. Give it a quick black spray. Here we go basing the model. The base actually comes from a different pack, just a simple cobblestone 3D printed base. This is my mix of grey, just using student craft paints, black and white, just down to that sort of consistency. I use this on a lot of models, so I've mixed up a very large batch and put it into an old water bottle. Painting the flesh, this is Elf Tone. It's an old Citadel paint. It was a little bit thin, so I did need to do a couple of coats. You can see a couple of skeletons in the background. That's for a later video. Sometimes I do miss a few little stringy bits in the 3D prints when you're cleaning them up, but that's okay. Just clip them off and paint over. Game Color Heavy Violet. This is going to be the mainstay color that I use in the upper torso, on the sleeves, the shoulder pads, the crest on his helmet. It's a wonderful color to use. Don't get to use it very often. You'll see it in another video coming up soon where I use it on some 3D printed mushrooms. Game Color Heavy Sienna, one of my favorite browns to use. I'm using this for the boots and for the crossbow. If you add a little bit of water to your paints as you apply them, they'll go on a lot smoother. And you'll notice here I'm using a fair bit of paint. With it being a 3D print, you'll often see the layers showing up. With a little bit extra paint, they'll fill in those a little bit better without losing too much detail. Army Painter, Gunmetal. This is a great iron base for anything that is metallic. I'm using this for the plate mail, for the chain mail, for the rim around the bolt cover on the crossbow, and for the tip of the bolt. Also for the shoulder pads and his sword that's hanging down. There's also a little circlet that goes around his head, so it's on that. Unfortunately, I'm still getting used to how to actually film painting these models. So I'm often getting the getting the figure out of shot or having a little bit of blurring as I move things in and out of focus. I do apologize for that. I'll get better at it. Games Workshop Citadel Miniatures Eschen Grey. This is a bit darker than the other grey that I was using. I'm using this on the pants only. Game Colour Leather Brown and Citadel Cerebite Green. These two colours I use on the base. You can see that I've done one square that is the green and one little square that is this brown. It just offsets the grey colour in the base. You might think that they look a little bit odd at the moment, but once you have washed them with a brown wash and then dry brushed over them again, that blends all through. I also use this leather brown on the quarrels in the crossbow for his pouches that he's got at his side and for the belt and straps. Going to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Ayla13. She is a fantastic painter. If you want to check out some truly awesome models, go see her on Facebook and her YouTube channel, Ayla13.com. That's AELLA13.com. Citadel White Scar, just a plain white. I'm using this to paint all of the hair. I wanted to give them the impression of being really pallid, very out of touch with the rest of the world, otherworldly, and even though they are elven already, and that looks a little bit different, and the armor looks very different to a lot of the miniatures that I have on the table, but white hair with a green wash in it later would be very, very different and contrasting to a lot of the other miniatures that I put on the table. This is now doing the green wash over the hair. Uses the same green that I used on the base earlier. It's very watered down, so it slides easily into all of the recessed areas. Dry brushing the base. This is now using the white and grey that I've mentioned earlier, just mixing them up so that it's a fair bit lighter than the grey that I used on the base. And I just dry brush over the entire miniature. Now, I spoke about dry brushing in the last episode. Dry brushing is one of my favorite techniques. It gets a very, very quick highlight done. Had some left over of that paint, so I'm now doing a highlight on the pants just to bring out the folds of the pants that he is wearing. And there you can see at this stage some basic highlighting, most of the base colors done. Now for the shading. Citadel Agrax Earth Shade. This goes over pretty much the entire model. I don't do it on the hair, but on the face, on the metal, on the wood, on all of the flesh, the boots, the purple, all over the base. This is a great wash just to tie all of the colors in. It can hide any little imperfections, gaps in the painting that you may have done. It's a great way to get a decent amount of shading done quickly. There you go, quick shade done. Wasn't really happy with the way that the Agrax Earthshade darkened the purple so much, so I did go over this quickly, just adding a little bit of extra purple back, not completely covering, leaving a lot of the shading, and then highlighting with a mix of that violet and white, just to bring out a little bit of the contours of the miniature and give it a little bit more life. Now just to dry brush the hair, we are going back over this with white. Once that green has completely dried, this just brings out the highlights and leaves the hint of green underneath. Again, a light dry brush over the base. This is with a fairly light grey. You can see there that by doing this highlight over the top of now the washed base, it really draws it all together. Just to darken the metal, I'm putting a wash of Nuln oil, also from Citadel. Just darkens up the metal and makes it look a little bit more oily. Final step, dry brush of gunmetal just over the top of that, just to give a little bit of shine to all of the metal components of the model. You really don't want to do a lot here, otherwise you're going to lose that effect that you've had with the brown and black washes. And there you have it, guys. They're done. Easy, quick, simple, and they're ready for the table. If you liked it, hit subscribe, leave me a comment for future videos that you'd like to see, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Cheers.